works with me. I fixed it. Great to see you again, Dan, and Ryan, of course, and everyone else who's here. It's a lot of people. So hi. I think a lot of you, we all met last time I was there in the mountains and had a good time. It's a very unique place. So really appreciate the chance to have a chat. If you don't know me, I'm the founder of Moodle, the CEO of Moodle, and have been doing this for 20 years, building it from scratch. And every year I'm surprised by how many new things and how much growth there is. There's always amazing new things happening, and continues to grow like topsy. I'll show you some things. Well, I'll start showing you things now. There we go. So let's talk about what's happening now a bit and the future. But first, I want to give you some context. There is we're in a troubled world right now, and that is the context. We're in a very chaotic time. We still have a climate crisis going on. We still have human rights problems of all levels, large and small, and some of the things in the US over the past year, and then and everywhere else in the world, there's something happening, and some of it's been going on a long time, and some of it's new. We have technology evolving quickly. We have things like AI. We have the ability to make videos of people talking that you can't distinguish from the real thing. We have with VR, and we have self-driving cars, and we have more and more control in the hands of fewer and fewer individuals. We have fake news. Fake news really in every aspect, and everybody is facing that. And it's becoming a real interesting problem of, as an individual, how you choose what news you want to get, and how do you trust what you're seeing all the time. And so that's an ongoing thing. We have recessions around the world. We have a lot of people out of jobs, a lot of people suffering, partly because of the pandemic, of course, but happening anyway. Political struggles of all kinds. It doesn't really matter what side of politics you're on. There has definitely been an uptick in political struggles going on, increasing division, and part of it's caused by these other things. And lastly, of course, we've had an education crisis. We've just been through an education crisis. Now, some countries are handling it better than others, but at the peak, just over a year ago, 91% of all the students in the world were out of school, which is stunning to think about. And that is down now to about 6%. But obviously the amount of everybody talking about learning online just suddenly went crazy, and we've all been dealing with that in our own way. But I guess in the Moodle world, quite evident that the statistics we have on registered sites, that number, which is about 192,000 sites registered, that was 100,000 years ago. 100,000. Just over a year ago, before the pandemic. So it almost doubled. And that's just the simplest stat to show that there's been a lot more activity here, a lot of more people thinking about online learning than they were before. Now, a lot of the people in this room, you've all been doing it for years. And it's been quite sad, funny and sad, to see people jumping online and they think online learning is Zoom, what we're doing now, right? They think it's this. And we know there's all this depth and all this other stuff you need to do if you actually want to manage a class. And I wonder how many of you have been sort of fighting that battle at some level into this knee-jerk reaction into just online video conferencing as the solution. I think a lot of people are now suddenly realizing, well, yes, you do need to manage learning in some way. The top countries, US got knocked off the perch a little while back. but it's still increasing. So that all of these countries are increasing. Spain has just been going absolutely nuts. I don't know who's feeding that horse, but they're giving it rocket pellets or something. But yeah, that country is doing a lot of Moodle, that's for sure. And Mexico third, and you know, it's a very global thing, Moodle. The US continues to be the anomaly in that there is these are from a couple of years ago still, 2020, but in the US, there's a lot more variety of LMSs. In the rest of the world, not so much. It continues to be Moodle, Moodle, Moodle. Obviously, you've got Blackboard and Instructure and other platforms, Google, Microsoft, all competing heavily in this area. So look, before I go on, I just want to reiterate something I used to talk about more years ago. And because I have so much stuff to always talk about, it's kind of dropped off lately, but I just wanted to give a reminder of one single little thing, which is that Moodle is not a solution in itself. It's not designed to be, well, if you take this software and just stick it onto your learning situation, all your problems will be solved. It's more of a toolbox where you build your own platform. And I think most Moodle users who've been doing it for a while have embraced that. You create your own LMS from this toolbox. And that's how it's different from a lot of other online learning solutions, which are really one thing fitting all. Moodle works from anything from you know, a tiny homeschool up to a national military organization. So the one thing that is common to all of these situations, and the one thing that I know works, but that is sometimes forgotten, is that learning is a social construction. And what that means is that if you're able to create the opportunity for the learners to construct their own representations of their learning as often as possible, and it could be a forum post, it could be a chat, it could be an assignment, it could be a glossary entry, it could be, hey, go make a quiz, it could be make a video. Like the more you get your students creating representations of what they're learning, the better. Like this is a given, this is supported by all the research. It's like the one thing, and any course can benefit from looking at it and going, how can I put in more interactivity? How can I get students expressing more? So, you know, if you take nothing else away from today, just that. And I think it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, you can always look at a situation and go, you know, I could add a bit more of that, and it's going to help. So let's talk about products. Let's talk about the Moodle platforms and what's going on. So I have this usual thing that I show with all the pieces that we're working on: the tools, the resources, and the skills. So we always start with the main tool, Moodle LMS. We just released 3.11 and in May, and some of the main features are the student activity completion, the Brickfield accessibility tool, which I'll talk a bit about later, support from open badges, and a bunch of other things. But this first one, activity completion, you can see here, there's these little pills, they're called, that make it clearer to a student what they have to do. And that simple change has really been very popular from a UX perspective, that most people are finding it to be a lot clearer than how it was before. So that's a nice little thing. UX is the direction. We are spending all of our time mostly on, well, not all of the time mostly, we're spending most of our time on UX these days. And that continues. The next few releases, UX, UX, UX. That means user experience. The number one usual complaint about Moodle is, it looks dated. It looks old. It looks complex. It looks whatever. And those are very true. So that's why we've been really doubling down on that. And Moodle 4.0, which we've given a year and a half to, is really focused on UX. It's like the big UX release. And because it's a 0.0 release, a 4.0, we have a little bit extra ability to change things, to break things. We're always very mindful of upgradability and making sure that things are smooth. And nobody wants a Moodle 2.0 again. I learned my lesson those years ago. But 4.0, we have to be a little bit radical in some ways, and to get that experience, to be able to, for all of us to look at Moodle and go, you know, this stands up really well against anything else out there. And we take away that major objection. So here's just a few glimpses of the prototypes. I'll tell you where you can see more of them and join in. This is a dashboard. These are works in progress, right? So some of this stuff is more certain than others. Some of it's still being worked on and changing. Well, that was the dashboard. So the dashboard is really being simplified. Really, the main thing you're going to have on your dashboard is going to be the timeline block. Here you can see the calendar, but the timeline block is going to be very central. And the timeline block is meant to say, this is what you have to do next. Right? These are the next things you have to do. I don't have a screenshot of that yet, unfortunately. There is a new major page, the My Courses page, which is now separated from the dashboard. And this is a solid thing. So there will just be this page which just shows all of your courses. And that makes that kind of hub and spoke navigation easier to jump around between courses. And you also get this overview of all of the main things you need to be looking at. Here you can see some of the new icon designs that are currently being tested with users. So this is a much clearer, cleaner looking icons for different activities and resources. And that looks good, big or small. It allows a lot more nice design and also customizability. So you can choose to have them all multicolored like this, which looks really pretty in design. Or you can make them all one color if you want, or make them into a color that fits your theme. You'll have that ability to change them. Here you can see what the course layout looks like now. So we've still got some of these, the pills showing things that you need to do, and you're able to say if this is done, if that's one of those manually marked things. But there is this cleaner, more modern look to the activities, and you can see the icons there in context. And the way you can drag things around as you can now, but it overall, a lot of the things are hidden under these 3 dots, which is what's known as a kebab in UX parlance. You also have hamburgers as well, which you probably know, the 3 lines. So you do get hungry working on Moodle. There is oh, here's another one. Yeah, so this shows the course and shows there are still 2 block areas on each side. Well, 2 side areas. So this is where blocks are as with Boost now, but it's been cleaned up a lot, and you can hide that very easily. And you can see how it folds out with a little arrow here. And then on the left, assuming you're not working in Arabic or Hebrew, on the left, you can see this is the new course index, and that shows all the activities in an unfoldable way to navigate around. And this is found to be much more useful than what we're doing now, which is having a bunch of links to stuff in there. The links to stuff are now, if they're not at the top of the screen in that primary navigation, they are here on the page in what we call secondary navigation. And this changes for different courses, for different activities, wherever you are. All those things that you need, all those settings type things, they're not hidden under a little gear anymore. They're all spread out there so you can see them. And that's going down very well with user testing as well. You can see the edit button is up the top, very clearly always there if you're a teacher. There's still some work going on around the profile. Under your profile link, there'll be much more, all the things relating to you as a person. But hopefully you can start seeing how things are going. That's the general swing of it. And the mobile app as well. This is the mobile view, actually, not the mobile app. So the mobile responsive view also getting a lot of work and a lot of attention in UX, so that at Moodle, just even in a browser, works very well on a mobile browser. Now, if you want to get involved, still time. It's still some months until code freeze, and a lot of things are still being decided. This is the place to be, moodle.org/UX. Come along, and that's where we're doing a lot of that work. 4.0 will cover all these sort of core areas of Moodle. Then 4.1, which will be due in May next year, that's going to focus on the other key areas, the gradebook and some of the activities that we hadn't yet touched in 4.0. And 4.1 will be a long-term support release. And that will be that'll be kind of the end of the big UX changes. And then we'll keep working on things as always going on. Workplace, Moodle Workplace is the other LMS product we have built on top of Moodle, and it really is useful for any workplace situation where you need compliance or you need to train people internally. It's amazing actually who's taking this up, and we have some very large clients getting involved, and the development of this thing is accelerating rapidly. So yeah, pretty exciting for us. We are the workplace team is super busy. I'll tell you about a bit more about that later, what's going on. And that's what the interface looks like now. You maybe have seen that over the past couple of years. The workplace interface will also, because it's built on top of Moodle LMS, it will take on everything that LMS has. And in fact, the interfaces are going to become more similar and less different than they have been. They're going to become very similar. The distinguishing feature of Workplace is the extra features that it has, not the way it looks. And so that's our general way we're going. And of course, the apps, our apps are available in the App Store. We have some extra features here for a very low cost plan. And then we still have branded mobile apps, and we have hundreds of branded apps that people have commissioned. And we create very custom looking apps, your own app in the App Store if you want one. And it's that's another great thing. Now, Moodle is not just those things that the core team manage and all the people who contribute in the open source community. We have at least 1,000 developers who contribute to Moodle core. But there are also here 1,000 developers who are writing plugins. So Moodle's an operating system. These are like little apps that are being built on top of the Moodle universe. And we've struggled for a while. How do we make sure these developers are supported? Because it's no good making a plugin, putting it on the plugins database, and then that developer, they change jobs, they lose interest, they move on, and then what happens to all the users of that module, of that plugin? So we have this new Moodle plugin service, which is essentially a kind of app store, very similar to the App Store on an iPhone or on the Google Play Store. So the way it works, and it actually gives extra features to people as well, which is that even as a teacher, you'll be able to say, I want to add one of those plugins into my course. And it goes off to a central place, which creates an instance of that plugin running in the cloud, and then shares it back to your course and puts it in your course using the LTI protocol plus a bit extra, so that it looks and feels like it's part of your course. Students can use it. Student data is protected because it's anonymized. It's sent backwards and forwards. And you now have that plugin. And you didn't have to go to your admin to ask them, can we install this plugin, please? Now, this is a service, right? There's servers and there's lots of work to make this happen. There will be a cost. We really want to keep it very cheap. It'll be like a subscription cost. As long as you want to use that module this way, it will cost you something. But we hope to have, good plans. So there might be like a bit like Netflix, right? An all-you-can-eat plan, and you pay a certain small amount per month, and it gives you access to everything. And you can just try out plugins and go nuts. A portion of that cost goes to the original developers. So those developers now have an income, they have a revenue stream, which means they're motivated to make that module better. They're motivated to fix your bugs. They now have direct access to the users. So we really want to make it an app store where we can support the developer community. And if you think about it, that is why our phones are so good, because app stores created that developer community where everyone is able to support themselves. So we're excited about that. That will be starting in January and will be released next year. Now, I'll talk a bit about resources here. So we know that just putting tools in people's hands isn't enough, and you need other things to support that. So the first thing is we've always had Moodle partners as the people who mostly pay for the development of Moodle. Most of the funds that pay core developers come in as royalties from Moodle partners who do services, and a percentage of their services comes to Moodle. So we do recommend that you would always support Moodle partners, but there is this big news on the slide that I'm showing right now, which is that we are creating, and you may have heard, we did announce it in a small way earlier this year, but next month this will exist and it will be an actual thing, Moodle US. And this Moodle US is the merging of 3 of our best Moodle partners in the world, who are in the US. We've got My Learning Consultants, eLearning Experts, and Moonami, together with Moodle. And the 4 companies are forging this Moodle US and investing in it, and are growing that to support the needs of anyone who needs services in the US. So just a second here. So what I'd love to do now is to help sort of explain a bit of that. I want to introduce you to some of the people who are involved, and you know them already, I'm pretty sure, because a lot of the people in this Moot have been around and we all know each other. So I'm going to introduce a few. So I'll start off with Jonathan Moore. Jonathan Moore is together with Michelle, they are My Learning Consultants. Jonathan will be the head of Moodle US. And Jonathan, are you here? Do you want to say a few words?
I am. Just really looking forward to what we're going to be able to do with Moodle US. From a strategy point of view, we're looking at broadening the services of all 3 companies. So I would just encourage those existing Moodle using organizations to take a fresh look at what we can do, whether that be a SaaS turnkey solution, or the technology to provide a really customized platform of Moodle and leverage that open source nature, all the way to you just want us to have someone to have a look and tell you, are you following best practices at an educational level with your courses?
Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, this has been very exciting because we've been working on this for like over 6 months. So I'm so happy we can all be talking about this now here. So look, next up, I already mentioned Michelle. So most of you know Michelle is like one of the best damn Moodle trainers out there, but a lot more than that. So Michelle, do you want to say a few words as well?
Yeah, likewise. Very excited to be working with all of these great folks. It's been really neat as we've started to work together across these 3 companies already, to think about all the resources and expertise that we're going to bring to bear, and how we can further support the work that John and I have been doing. We'll continue to have a really strong focus on learning design and creating exceptional learning experiences and applying those ideas that Martin's talked about with the social constructionism, and yeah, just meeting people where they are to create really exceptional, awesome learning experiences, unlike they can do anywhere else.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, particularly the links, you know, having Moodle and all of you together with, we've got Moodle Academy I'm going to talk about a bit later on, but there's some very exciting things happening too in the learning part of it. Next up, we've got Kathy Robson, CEO of eLearning Experts. I'm sure a lot of you know Kathy, who's been around the Moodle traps for, if I want to say 15 years. Is it more? At least. So yeah, look, Kathy's got a lot of experience and will be helping us with the integration of the companies and more. So Kathy, you want to say hi?
You're muted, Kathy.
Oh, you're on mute. Yep.
Good, thanks so much. Hi again. As they say, there's been so much work that's been happening behind the scenes. I can't possibly describe how wonderful it's been to work with such really knowledgeable and professional team members. We've gotten to know a lot of folks on the Moodle headquarters side as well, and their assistance and their partnership with us in terms of helping us come along has just been awesome. We're learning a great deal from each other. We're bringing lots of synergy to the project, and we're just so excited. We're very happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Happy as well, have you on board. And last here, but not least at all, John Porton, President of Moonami Learning Solutions. He's really been involved in a number of large government education contracts too. And you're leading the Moodle US operations team. So John, you want to?
Yeah, so Martin and I, just prior to his keynote here, we just left a meeting with U.S. Air Force and some of our team members over there. They're running 800,000 users, getting ready to bump it up to 1 million users. And already the sort of the synergies between these three companies are already providing benefits. We've, just because of the scale and the size of that implementation, we've drawn upon Kathy's resources and Jonathan's resources that have come through in the clutch. And so it's really great just kind of seeing teams already working together even before the deal here is finalized, but it's been good. I've known Jonathan and Michelle about as long as I've been involved in Moodle world. In fact, I think I met you guys at the MountainMoot, the first one we attended years and years ago. And Kathy, we've had you out here before to Indianapolis, and so I'm just really excited about the opportunity to work with people that I've known for a long time and people that I really admire. So it's just good things ahead.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, so look, this is all about getting these teams together so that everyone here represents like their teams. As we bring the teams together, we have a much larger, better, capable team to really help customers. We're here to make things better for customers, and we're also here to compete better against Instructure and Blackboard and etc. That's out there. And using the Moodle name, I think we're all going to be doing that, and so it's a really good thing for Moodle in the US. It also helps to support the whole Moodle project better as well, and so it's win-win-wins all around, which is my favorite kind of thing to be working on, that's for sure. So hey, thanks guys, thanks all. I'll carry on. I will mention though, there is a really full range of services now and a lot of things coming together with everybody. And as John mentioned, this Air Force thing, we were just in a meeting with them, is quite stunning that the US Air Force is doubling down on Moodle. What I've got a screenshot here is an article that just went up today on the US Air Force site. So when they talk about My Learning, that's Moodle. And they are very, very keen to help develop that to their needs together with us. And it's quite an exciting journey, and nice to be part of Space Force from my point of view. I love that. So look, I'll carry on, talk about a bunch of other things. We also have Moodle Cloud, I'm sure you're aware. That's grown a lot. We had a ton of new people joining during the pandemic. There's not a lot to see that's changed, but what we've done in the back end is grow this thing so that it can be very efficient, and it can support, even more Moodle sites. Something cool, I think, that we're hoping to do is, as we get closer to Moodle 4.0, that we'll offer free beta sites. So you can be able to test Moodle 4.0 before it comes out. Of course, you could just go and get the code and install it. But if you don't have that ability, you can also just click a button and get a Moodle 4.0 and play with it, and experiment and try out your courses on it if you want, and help us make it better. MoodleNet. I've been talking about this for a while, and we had a bit of a false start last year. We got close to release and then realized that the code was not gonna cut the mustard, as they say. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that phrase, but we took a step back. We looked at it, we redesigned it. We've been working on it for the past year. We have the new MoodleNet coming out in a month or so, probably late August. You'll get the first releases. Now, this is a completely open source project. Again, it's not based on Moodle. It's a separate open source project. And what it's about is a place for curating content, for curating educational resources, so that you can easily find what you need when you're in the middle of making a course. So it doesn't matter what you're making a course on. You might be making a course here, in this example, fine art, and you're looking for resources. So one click away from your course will be the MoodleNet system, which is built in a way such that it's not just one server. You can run your own MoodleNet server, and if you want, it can be completely private to your own users. Or you can search all of the MoodleNet sites in one go and find what you need. And once you find a curated list that some other educator has made about the topic you're interested in, you can just press a button and add those things into your Moodle site. It's a new thing. It's not like anything really that's out there. It's got a little bit of Pinterest in it, I suppose, but no one's built something that's like this, that's really exactly for this purpose, and that is so well fitting with what Moodle needs. So this is innovation in process, folks, and it's a new product. You have a lot of chance to help mold it and make it successful. And we really love your input as soon as these first versions come out. We also work together with other companies to try and certify certain plugins, certain integrations. And here are our certified integrations. We just added a new one recently, which is Brickfield. And just quickly about Brickfield. Whoops. So this is the accessibility checker that is built into Moodle 3.11. And that will let you check all of the content of your site for accessibility, and it'll highlight areas that need fixing, and it'll show you how to fix them and make it better. There are even more advanced checking available, and that's a subscription fee, because that uses a server, a very capable server that actually will process things. And if you've heard of Blackboard Ally, it's sort of a bit of that. But that's the service that Brickfield supply. But we did work with them to make sure that the core thing that is included in Moodle is very, very capable. And so we straight away all get this terrific free accessibility tool built into Moodle that helps us make Moodle more accessible. So that's a very cool thing. The last thing I want to talk about is the Moodle Academy, which is our new, it's our new learning hub. So I'm going to get to that. What we've had already in the past, we've had a Moodle education team. And a lot of you probably know Mary Cooch, who's always been in that team. She's been with us seemingly forever. All of the videos that come out on our Moodle releases, they're made by Mary. She makes those and she narrates them, but she's our educator. Now, we have other people in that team, and that team has worked on a number of things. Of course, you've probably heard of our Learn Moodle MOOC that runs twice a year. It usually gets about 3,000 to 4,000 people come take part in the MOOC. We have also some self-paced courses that run all the time: Moodle Teaching Basics, Moodle Teaching Next Level, Moodle Admin Basics, Moodle Play. These are free courses, and you're very free to use them. Last year, we launched something more serious, which is a Moodle Educator Certification Program. And this takes 22 competencies to be a great online educator. This is not just how to use Moodle. These are competencies such as, you can see here if you can make sense, how to encourage that your learners making responsible use of resources. So, to understand copyright, things like that. Or assessment strategies, which is not strictly about Moodle tools, but it's more like, well, how do you approach assessment across your whole course? What's the pattern of assessment? And there are 22 of these. Now, we didn't invent these 22 competencies. These are a European standard. I'm not aware of anybody coming up with anything like this in the US, actually, but this one is becoming very globally accepted as a good coverage of the competencies. So building on that, we built a certification, and the certification actually tests you on those 22 competencies. And if you can prove that you know what they're about and you're able to do them, then you can get a certificate. And we run this now around the world. We have thousands of people taking this. We've got, there are 28 of our Moodle partners are certified to run the MEC, and it's in 10 languages, and it's just growing exponential. Really crazy stuff. What we're now doing is to bring all of those things together into what we're calling Moodle Academy. And we've been working on this for since last year, as a hub. And this is to bring together all of the learning stuff into one place, all of the education of people that we do into one place. So here's the address. It's not launched yet, but it will be next month, moodle.academy. So what it does is, firstly, if you have never used Moodle much before and you find your way to Moodle Academy, you're going to experience a really well-designed Moodle site, which I think is important. That's the first way of learning what Moodle is, just to actually see it being used properly. And we all know there are lots of ways to not use Moodle properly. So we really want to show best practice straight out of the gate when you're using it. We will be using Workplace, so there will be learning paths and programs, and we're really going to use all of those features so that you can see how they fit together. But of course, all of the content is just normal Moodle stuff. So the different learning paths, the first one that we're working on is clearly for teachers, for educators. So starting from zero, you don't know anything, through these basic courses and leading all the way up through learning about gamification and assessment and media. You eventually, if you want to, you can go all the way up to an MEC and get a certification, which will be a handy thing in your portfolio. The next thing we're going to be tackling after that is actually developers. So we'll be training developers in a similar way as a learning path. So, maybe you are a programmer, but you don't know anything about working on Moodle. We're going to, all the previous bits and pieces we've developed on teaching people to program and develop in Moodle, and maybe make plugins on the App Store, then you can learn it here. By the way, I didn't mention something about that App Store. We are never intending that App Store will have exclusive features you can't get elsewhere. So every plugin that's in the App Store will also be GPL plugins in the plugins database as they are now. So the whole point of the App Store is it's a service that you use when you need it. And you might just, maybe you get a subscription and you try all the plugins and you go, you know what, I really like this plugin. I feel that I'm able to now go to my admin and ask for it to be installed on my site, and then they can install it, and then you don't have to pay anything anymore for that. So that was just something I should have mentioned before. Anyway, we're really focusing on developers and then administrators and also designers. So learning designers, instructional designers. You may notice, maybe you've noticed we're not running any Moodle moots. There's no Moodle HQ run moots this year. And we did run them last year. And I love moots. I love traveling to places. I love meeting people. I've always loved the conferences and the Moodle moots. But we have to be honest, they're not reaching the people who need to be reached. You saw the statistics before. There are millions of people out there using Moodle. In a particular conference, at best, like the biggest Moodle moot we ever had 1,400 people, so 1,400 people. It's a lot of people for a conference, but if you're looking at it as a learning opportunity, as a learning event, we reached 1,400 people. We didn't reach 1 million people. And it feels like that we really need to concentrate on our learning side, because I see moots as mostly about learning. The social stuff and all that is fantastic also, but I mean, at the core of it, we're all here to learn from each other, right? So that's why we're really thinking Moodle Academy needs to be the place that's like a moot that runs 365 days a year. And, it's not always easy to dedicate 3 days or 5 days to an event, but it is a lot easier to dedicate 2 hours to a very targeted event that I'm really interested in. So maybe, there's a 2-hour event on gamification next Friday. You go, sign me up. So that's what Moodle Academy will be doing. It'll be a site for these round-the-clock events, small events, webinars, and this won't just be Moodle HQ presenting them. We're opening it to the community. We really want our community to do what they do at Moots, which is, participate and present and engage, to show off cool new things they've discovered, and share those. So we all get to learn best practice together about teaching online, because we're all in it together. And a lot of the courses on Academy will be built by the community. They'll be built in multiple languages. There'll be something that we all share. And I should mention that Academy will be completely free. So there's no cost to come and use Academy. If you want to take any courses that you like, and so on, there will be a certification fee for the MEC. So if you want to get a certification, somebody actually needs to sit down and look at your stuff and certify you. So, that will have like right now it's a $200 fee. So I don't think Moot Bucks either. I'm not sure we can, maybe in future we can make Moot Bucks work for that. Look, the last thing I want to talk about, and I want to leave a little bit of time for questions if we can, is the future. So there's tons of great stuff already a bit future oriented that I've talked about. These are all based around the current Moodle code. And the current Moodle code is 2 million lines or so of PHP code that's been developed over about 20 years. It works in lots of ways. We're giving a really good overhaul with the interface, and it's going to have a life for some years yet. But is Moodle the learning platform of 2030 or 2040 or even 2026? I would argue no. I would argue that we should be shooting beyond that. And there's a limit to sort of the incremental changes we can make on the current Moodle platform, when we have actually technology all around us growing exponentially. So some of the things we want to be looking at, and we have a chance here to build a Moodle next generation. In fact, we've already planned to invest in a team to facilitate the research and development of this new platform. And that's starting at the end of the year. some of the things we need to think about are, like, I've got here communities. Now, why am I mentioning communities? So if you look at the internet today, look at the many sites that are out there, but even look on like social media sites like YouTube, you see a lot of people building communities around certain topics. They're experts, they've got some magnetism that makes people follow them, you know, a guru of a particular field, and they're able to draw together these followers and have these huge YouTube channels. And that in turn empowers them to get better and better and more interesting. And you know, I think we all probably know people on YouTube, for example, that we follow, and we go, you know, wow, that person is just like pushing the envelope. But there's also many other types of communities out there that exist already. And those communities are not currently connected with the learning experience at an institution so much. So I don't know, talk about an institute of engineers or something, okay? Maybe IEEE, why not? What connection does that have to the students learning engineering in today's university? Well, maybe if you're lucky, the university organizes something, maybe a guest visitor to come and speak or something, if you're lucky. But what if the tool we were using for learning was very, very much connected to those things? And so that those experts were just like a click away from your learning tool. Like the very people working in that field were very close to the people learning in the field. So you get this kind of more closer connection, more collaborative, and you're in touch with the field that you're going into. Let's talk here about open skills. So right now, if you learn something in, I don't know, Peru, you might do a full university degree, and then you come to the US and you want to work in that. Say, let's stick with engineering. So you're an engineer. You come to the US. Your qualifications may or may not be recognized, and this is a common problem around the world, that the skills are not always interoperable. And so we need to be thinking about open skills, and there are lots of people working on these standards to make sure that when you do learn things, it's somehow registered in a central place of skills, so that wherever you go, you're able to say, yeah, I have these skills. Okay, I don't just have a degree, I have skills. And then you can map those skills to the particular thing you're being asked to do, like a job. And so it seems like a learning platform should be very well connected with a skills network. Yeah. AI, artificial intelligence. If you've been following this at all, look at some of the recent work in AI. It is absolutely mind-blowing. There's a general purpose algorithm called GPT-3 that was created by OpenAI at a huge cost, because I think they had to feed this AI something like 18 billion documents from all over the internet. And now this thing can finish a letter for you. It can write a book with you. It can help do web design with you. It's being used on GitHub to actually write code with you. And it can do it by itself, or it can do it with guidance, and it does all these things. And it's a general purpose AI. That is pretty amazing. And that's just one example of the kind of AI and machine learning that's happening around us now. What does it mean for education? I've always seen that in an LMS that, and that's why we have the analytics in Moodle. We haven't really got there yet, but the intention of the analytics tool in Moodle is to eventually become a kind of assistant, an assistant for the teacher and an assistant for the student. But I think, you know, there's so much potential here, and I'm not sure bolting that onto the current Moodle is going to be as effective as designing that stuff into Moodle from the start, or into a tool from the start. And that we need to think about the role of AI. We need to use it well. For example, I would never want to see it replacing teachers. I always want to see it augmenting human beings, helping human beings do their job better. You know, if I, as a teacher, can teach 1 million students because I've got AI assistants that are helping me manage that complexity, that's pretty amazing, right? But if the AIs are just doing it on their own, that seems like a pretty poor world. And what are the 7 billion people in the world going to do? So, we need to have a balance. And I think it's important to design that very intentionally. Back to the top here, let's look at AR, VR. So augmented reality and virtual reality. There are so many devices all just around the corner. Apple about to drop one. And if Apple drops a device, it becomes pretty mainstream, right? Look at all the people walking around with AirPods and Apple Watches. And then everyone else kind of follows suit, just as an example. This is something that's been in development for decades, but it's getting very, very close to mass acceptance. So maybe it's not 2-3 years, maybe it's 5-10 years, but it's coming. And what that means is that the digital world is overlaid on top of your real world pretty much all the time. A lot of people wear glasses anyway, so why not have computer stuff in there? What does that mean for learning, right? How can we build a learning tool that knows these devices exist, that it knows you have headphones in, that it drip feeds podcast type information into you when you need it? There's a lot of possibilities. And this gets to all devices. Learning systems should use all the devices that we have, all the little screens and all the audio things, all those gadgets we're buying and putting in our houses. It should be integrated. You should be able to learn well anywhere. You're sitting on a couch, you've got a huge TV from LG or Samsung in front of you. Shouldn't that have an app that leads you into your learning world? I would argue if we really believe in education, then we should be designing our learning platform so that it is there, and it should be on every device. And that's that bit. So, and the second last one here, blockchain. Now I'm not there's a lot of people who take concept plus blockchain and try and make a startup. That's been happening a lot lately, and that's fine. Blockchain's not for everything, but in many cases, if you want to, there are lots of use cases for blockchain education, and we should be using them. We should be using that. Blockchain's still a very early technology and still developing. And lastly, mind interfaces. I was reading today about what they're working on for AR and for virtual reality helmets. There's actually a sensor that sits on the back of your neck, and by monitoring the electricity going up and down your spine, is able to tell how you're moving your fingers and your legs. So simply with a helmet, you'll actually have your full body being read without any other devices. A lot of these companies are working on stuff like that. It doesn't seem impossible, and it seems like it's, not that far away. And of course, we have companies like Neuralink who are literally trying to put wires in your brain. Again, we're talking about brains, we're talking about information, we're talking about interaction. Learning is what does this mean for learning? What do we want it to be? And I feel like a global community like Moodle needs to be working on problems like that. So look, there's some of the things. The way we go about this is we need to do a lot of R&D. We need to do a lot of early planning. We're not going to jump into any products. We need to have a very large group of people thinking about these things and trying stuff out and working on that platform. So that's something we'll be involved in too. So there you go. I'm going to finish there. I don't know if I've got a couple of minutes left, but if there are any questions, I'm very happy to take them. And of course, you can always reach out to me anytime. Thanks.
So Martin, we've got some questions over in Q&A. Do you have that little Q&A bit if you want to take a look at that?
Oof, 15. All right, let's be quick. I'll try and answer them as quickly as I can. And they're all out of context now, unfortunately. Sorry, but I had to steam through that so we can do this at the end. So what about where we have put important content like teacher info as blocks? This is about the UX. If they're hidden, it's not good. Can we disable it? So yeah, the blocks are there. It's purely a personal choice to just take them off the screen so you can concentrate. You can take them and bring them back. It's in the theme. So in the end, if you want to redesign it on your own theme, you can, or people in the community can. But we're doing this idea of concentrating on the content has come up again and again as an important thing in the UX stuff. Lindsay, You'd love to know how I anticipate the horizontal tabs across the top might interact with the theme designed to do the same thing. I think we all would love to know how that works. You can add them together, or it could be a layer one under the other. But those tabs at the top have really been easy for new people to find their way around. So, that's a really good question to raise in the forum, actually. Will the secondary navigation stay stuck at the top, or will it follow the user as they scroll? I believe it actually follows the user as they scroll. In the last prototypes I've seen. Another good question to discuss, and maybe there's a setting for it. Does the edit button float with page scrolling? Yes, that top menu stays up there. When a typical 10-week course has 50 activities on the course page, isn't that huge extra space going to make it much longer to scroll? And a student can't see a topic on one page as easily. Yeah, I'm not sure what the plans are for one topic per page, which already exists as an option and prevents that scroll of death. They will be longish, but I think we need to test what that means, because scrolling is very easy. On most devices, scrolling is pretty fast, but that'll be another great question. You should start that discussion on the UX forum, actually. I would love to see more people get involved on that one. Moodle.org/UX. Lindsay asking again, elaborating about the Lambda theme and how that, so I think I've answered that. That the theme designers are going to have to work around it. And that's the thing with 4.0. There are biggish changes, and we're trying to we'll get everything out there to everybody by the end of September. All of the changes, all of the APIs, all of the things, so people have quite a few months to still work out what they have to do or what we can still fix. What's an example of a plugin you might use, says Wendy, and I don't know what that's referring to. Maybe Ryan, if you come up with if you understand that, I'm not sure.
Well, there are lots of great plugins to use. One of the ones that I really like is Hot Question, which allows people to put a question in and then vote that question up. We made really good use of it last year at MountainMoot. So yeah, take a look at that. But there are thousands of plugins, or well, not thousands. There's 1,000 or so, something like that, right?
Yeah, there's nearly 2,000 plugins, but in the initial version will only support activity plugins to start with. So there'll be those activity plugins, and then we'll expand from there. If you go to moodle.org/plugins, have a look. Will there be a way for admins to turn off the App Store or set only a pre-approval list? Yes, there will. Admins can say, no, I don't want my teachers doing this. That's totally possible and controlled. I know admins like to be in control. The whole point of this, though, is that you can allow more plugins without worrying about the overhead of maintaining things. So hopefully, admins can be a bit more allowing. With the plugin service, will you be reaching out to developers about potential for revenue share? Jeff, early in the new year, when the next specs we'll publish the full specs for the whole plan. We have one already, and I've discussed it at a few moots in the past and brainstormed it with a bunch of people in Vienna was one, in France another time. So we'll publish it all as soon as we have more info. Is the MOOC still going to run twice a year? Well, good question. Good one for the Academy team. I think it will run one more time at least, and it may keep running. But really, this Moodle Academy is a MOOC running all the time. We'll have to decide what bits are synchronous and what aren't. How does the MEC program compare to Google Educator Certification Level 1 or 2? Yeah, those are pretty thin, what I've seen. Google's Educator Certification doesn't cover a lot. I think it's also like pretty free, or $25 or something. there's not a lot of checking of what you do. I don't think no one's certifying you as such. You do a sort of online quiz, I believe. I don't know. You might know more, but we've aligned this to a standard that's becoming quite international and has a lot of research and things behind it. We're pretty happy with MEC. Would there be examples of good Moodle sites for multiple use cases, government, corporate? I assume you mean on Academy. I think that would be a terrific course. You know, how to use Moodle in a government setting. Maybe you wanted to make that course. I'd be very happy. Will the Moodle Academy be run in different languages? Yes, it will. Absolutely. Spanish would be the second language that comes along, mostly because it's one of the world's biggest languages, and a lot of our team speak Spanish as well, so that's quite easy for us. And then we'll go from there. What do you think of the new board feature? I'm really going over time, aren't I? I should finish. Too many questions. I'll tell you what, though, maybe I should stop and we should put these questions in the forum somewhere on the site and I can answer them there.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Martin, as always, thank you for taking the time to just answer questions from folks, to be a part of the conference, to you know, be in with this community. We really appreciate it. Especially, you know, it's midnight in Perth now, I think. So we really appreciate that. So thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
And we'll throw some of these questions over into a forum, maybe on MountainMoot or something. I'll figure it out and email everybody, and we can go from there. So thanks a lot, everybody. Go ahead and run to the next sessions. And again, thanks.
Thanks all for running the conference and the opportunity. And yeah, very happy to speak to everybody. See ya.